In 2011, a man received an email from his friend simply saying, "I'm watching." What made matters unsettling here is that his friend had passed away months prior. Today we're going to discuss the fact and fiction behind the Jack Froese emails. This is Red Web. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Red Web. I'm Trevor Collins, and with me, as always, is Alfredo Diaz, bringing in the gut check, coming in blind, reacting to the mystery at hand, which is today, the Jack Froese emails, F-R-O-E-S-E. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, but that's how I've always heard it. Jack Froese.
I don't like this.
What's wrong?
I don't like this one bit.
No?
No, because this is the stuff that I briefly mentioned in previous episodes, where ghosts and ghouls and shit. All right,
Ghouls. This is my ghoul friend.
They're gonna start adapting with tech, right?
Absolutely.
If I was to pass away,
Sure.
and I could I don't know,
I'd expect a friendly message from the great beyond.
you know what I mean?
How's it going up there? What do you see?
I'd be bored. I'd try and fix your dead pixel or something like that.
Oh, snap! You're gonna save me $500 on a new monitor. You're gonna fix my dead pixel.
I start messing with tech, right? Not in a I'll bring it back. Not in a nefarious way, but not everyone's gonna not do that. Some people are gonna be malicious or something. But
they're gonna add dead pixels.
Yeah. Oh god, that sucks. Oh my god, start changing your DPI in the middle of a match.
Oh my god. Wait a minute.
All the really little
Somebody live check Alfredo. My computer's messing up. Is he haunting it?
But the fact that I don't know. I would say if this were to happen to me, I would be more confused than anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because if this is a thing that's starting to happen, or this is 2011.
Yeah.
But if this is a new, not to believe in ghosts, if this is a new ghost type of
the next frontier,
right? The next frontier, we're right at the beginning of it. So we're the ones that would be experiencing it as the preliminary wave, right? So I'd be more confused. Now, granted, if this is a thing that continues, again, not saying I believe in ghosts, and 50 years from now, people might be like, oh no, I'm new age down the line. The young bloods might be like, oh, I'm so terrified, I'm so scared.
Right.
Ghosts now mess with tech. We've known this for years.
Remember when they just used to walk the halls and creak a door or two?
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
Now they're futzing with my emails and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is super interesting. I've known about this one for quite some time. It's definitely on the shorter side because I'll be honest, we are preparing. This episode came out last week, so it's a little shout out to our Halloween special, but we are preparing now. We are just on the cusp of going to our destination for, I see Christian's shaking his head. I see Alfredo shaking his head. I'm super excited until I get in the throes of it.
It's not good.
I don't want to tease too much, but if you like ghosts and you want us to get hands-on just for one special episode.
You like ghosts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Are you kidding me?
Here's the thing.
You
The
like
audience, you like ghouls? The audience, the task force, they have the privilege of being able to dabble. They can listen to us in broad daylight, though the podcast does come out at 3 a.m. Central Time.
2 a.m.
2 a.m., excuse me. Not the witching hour just yet. But yeah, so if you haven't checked that episode out, I encourage you to do so. It has a visual component as well, so if you prefer to watch this one in particular, you can over on our YouTube channel.com/redwebpod,
Christian, I gotta call up 5 different priests, bro. Just bless the shit out of us.
You're gonna bring some sage. You're gonna bring some incense and
bring
stuff.
some salt.
Whatever. I have salt in my go bag. I'm ready.
What if that's what we do?
Holy
We
water.
literally ghost bust. We go to all the most haunted places in the United States and cleanse them, killing all ghost tourism at these locations. You know what I mean? This was once the most haunted location in Texas, but now everyone loves it. Kids are playing, flowers are growing, the trees bloom, and the birds are back.
Could you imagine the people that run those places if we just show up and they go, no.
They're here. He's bringing the sage.
It's time.
We're both nodding our heads, walking up. Shh, it's gonna be okay.
Side story real quick. That reminds me that I was hanging out with Jackie. We were in a pool and we're
Your girlfriend.
Jackie, my girlfriend, hanging out at the pool. We're with Gab and Meg. We're just Jackie was talking about how she was adopted and she doesn't know she's when her mom got her from the Ukraine, she didn't know she was baptized or not. And you're not supposed to get baptized twice because it's like really bad, apparently. You get baptized once, good. You get baptized second time, very bad.
What about 3 times?
I don't know.
Is it like an even odds kind of situation?
So that is the thing.
I don't know.
Jackie's mom was taking her to different like priests and stuff. And since she didn't know, her mom, if she was baptized or not, the priest would be like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to baptize this baby. Could be baptized second time. So I spent, after Jackie said that story, I spent the next like hour and a half in the pool, just randomly during conversations, taking a little dab of water and then just blessing her, like just a cross on her forehead. And I was like, and I just kept going, that should do it. And then like 2 minutes later, mid conversation, just like not even bring attention to it, just subtle, just like dab of water, just like, nah, I didn't feel good about that last one.
Right. This is like a 10-minute booster.
I just kept,
every now and then you got a little.
I just kept blessing her mid conversation, like every couple minutes.
I don't know. You might have cursed her now. Like too many
I have no clue.
Too many that's.
I have no idea.
you might have opened up some doors that you are unfamiliar with, friend. But without further ado, why don't we dive into the Jack Froese emails and explore them a little bit? Because, we have a friend here who passed away, sent an email on to another friend of his. So let's explore that. So Tim Hart, while scrolling through his emails back in November of 2011, he saw a familiar name come through his email inbox as the sender. Obviously, now you know Jack Froese was that person, one of his best friends for over 17 years. They grew up together. They had known each other for many, many years, obviously. So this was very strange because he had just passed away. He read the subject of the email, which said, quote, "I'm watching." As simple as that. This was very shocking because this was 5 months after, 5 months, a very odd amount of time after Jack Froese had passed away. When talking about this situation with BBC, who has since reported on this, Tim is quoted as saying, "I turned ghost white when I read it. Obviously, this is not something that he was anticipating. This is not something that he was planning for or expecting in any way. And when reading the email, the body of the email said, it had 3 sentences. It went, quote, "Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your fucking attic." End quote. So what do you do if you get an email like this from someone who you knew for years? Let's talk Tim Geddes, for example, of Kinda Funny.
Yeah.
I know you both grew up together.
Friends for
Long time
almost
friends.
15 years at this point.
Right.
I mean, that's my boy. You know what I'm saying? And also, if I see an email like that, first thing I'm thinking, 1, not scared, weird.
Yes.
2, is this like a hack or something like that? 3, family member, brother. You know what I mean? I'd be like, maybe it's Tim's brother messing with me or something like that, because close to Tim's brother as well. And then from there, I'd be like, well, this is real. It's just Tim.
Yeah, you're
also,
like, what's up?
Also, telling me to clean my attic. Like, it's not like I'm going to gut you like a fish.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Like, it's like it has some detail in it. I mean, and it's open for interpretation because you have these 3 basic sentences. But I want to jump back just for a hot second to give a little bit of background on Jack in particular, because he was only 32 years old when he passed away from heart arrhythmia, which is something that can strike suddenly. It's not something that you can always see coming. It's not something that you can anticipate. Not every time, right? I'm not a doctor. I don't know much about that.
Right.
But from my understanding, heart arrhythmia is essentially an improper or irregular heartbeat. And that was on June 10th, 2011, to be precise. Now, Jack was obviously a good friend of Tim, and they were known to be sarcastic. They were a jokester, and they typically had a funny quip to come back with anything.
Yeah, especially if it's something like that. If that's the friendship, that's the relationship. I don't know. Then again, I've seen movies like The Conjuring, so like it could be some kind of like demon trying to like pass as a friend, and then you end up inviting it because split second thought, I was like, yo, Tim's just chilling in the afterlife, hanging out. Let me turn on the TV, leave it on for him.
Right, I'll put the staticky, the old HBO, scratchy HBO on, and you just like use that to talk to me or something.
You have to talk to me. I throw on some of your shows. Here's the Switch. I know you love Nintendo. Here's the Switch. Like it's on. You know what I mean? But then again, I could be inviting someone pretending to be
exactly. That's the old Ouija board thing. You don't leave the board without saying goodbye. And if something ever talks to you, you don't speak to it directly. Well, I guess in the moment, Tim is kind of caught up on, the whole situation. Based on his knowledge of his friend, it feels very much like his friend, especially, and I'll go into the attic piece here in a bit. So he responds to this email. He doesn't ever clarify what he said or what was said because it was more private, but he never got a response is what's important. He emailed back and nothing came back from that. There wasn't a back and forth or anything happening. But when it comes to the attic, the reason why that kind of stood out to Tim was because shortly before his death, Jack was at Tim's house where he visited very often. Obviously, I established they're very long-time friends. But during Jack's second to last time, not his most recent time at the house apparently, but the second to last time, they were surveying Tim's attic. And they were discussing how they might renovate it, how they might finish it out, how they're going to clean it up and make it into a livable, usable space rather than an old, dusty storage bin for God knows what, right? Mm-hmm. But he's over there at the house and Jack is teasing Tim for essentially how filthy, how dirty, and how unusable that attic is. And Jack had even joked as far as to say, if you don't clean it, he says, I will have to come over here and clean it myself. Specifically saying, quote, better clean this attic before I get up there. So I'm sure it's just like in jest, right? Good friends. But he's encouraging him to use all the space of his house, right?
Yeah.
Real estate's expensive. But Tim wasn't the only person who ended up receiving an email from Jack Froese after his passing, which is interesting. So going back to this email, whoever sent it kind of knew about that conversation that they had privately about the attic. That, or they just stumbled upon it or somehow found out about it or whatever. So that's interesting. Or someone's a liar. You know what I mean?
Or you got a boys type situation.
Yeah.
Almost living in the walls.
Whoa. You're talking about, is it just The Boy? Is that the movie?
I think it's called The Boy.
No, that's okay. So I meant to say at the top of the episode, I talked to Christian Pryor and I was like, I scribbled down in my head a couple of movie titles.
Was that one of the movies?
It was not that movie. I was not expecting A Boy in the Wall. No. I wrote down some movies in my head to be like, all right, I'm going to get some points now. If he drops the movie titles I'm thinking of ahead of time.
So the issue is he's going modern this time.
We're going to have to make a bingo board out of these movies.
Who's to say it has to be
That's not a 90s film.
It's just movies, period, people.
Well, you had a long string of 90s.
There was a lot of 90s for real.
You went obscure 90s before you went to common sense modern. I mean, some leaps of logic were taken. But like I said, Tim wasn't the only person getting these emails. So this made it very strange because Jack's cousin, Jimmy McGraw, received an even stranger message, one would say eerier, on November 21st. The subject simply said, "Hey, Jim." And the email body read as follows, quote, "How you doing? I knew you were going to break your ankle. Tried to warn you. Gotta be careful." And then on a new line, almost as if to say something completely different, they said, "Tell Rock for me. Great song, huh? You're welcome." Couldn't get through to him. His fucking email didn't work. End quote.
What?
Basically, whoever's sending this email, imagining whether it's Jack or otherwise, was trying to email a handful of people. Friend, cousin, and another person named Rock. This Rock person must have been in a band or, because he's complimenting this song. He's basically saying hey, carry this message on for me. I couldn't get through to his email because it kept bouncing back to me. Or just wasn't working.
That's eerie.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that one person's being contacted, now there's a whole chain of people.
Yep.
I mean, also just send a group message.
Right. A little AIM chat, little group.
Tag everyone in.
Just go down the list, a group of people get an email from someone who's passed on. They go, Alfredo, this, Trevor, this, Christian, that.
And then
that'd be weird.
That just makes it weirder for me, less than scary.
Uh-huh.
And maybe because, again, this is the beginning of this type of stuff.
Right.
Where I'm just like, ghosts don't do this. Someone's doing this. Who's sent one email? Okay. But now we're going down the list?
Mm-hmm. I want to know, who all got these emails.
Yeah.
Because apparently a few other friends of Jack Froese also received posthumous emails from him. But these other groupings we don't know much about because they withheld that information and they kept it private. But
it's only been 5 months too, so I don't think that Google would release the email even remotely soon. If they did, right?
As far as they're aware, someone's still holding it, just sitting on it. Yeah.
It's not like this email has been sat on for 20 years and it's was this released?
Right.
And then just so happenstance that the person knew about this. That'd be so random. But I'm just trying to think from any other angle, I mean, technically, like, if you have the person's mobile device, a computer is open, you know what I mean? Like, you have access to the email. Like, it's
Absolutely.
yeah, someone's personal computer.
Right. It's 2011. You got someone's BlackBerry.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like face recognized or thumbprint or anything at that point, I don't think. So, like, you just tap on in there. Maybe it's just always unlocked.
And also, it was sudden. So, who's to say that, like, I mean, it's, again, it's sudden, right? So, like, their main home office computer probably isn't turned off or something, you know?
Right. Ooh, dang.
They didn't plan, right? Because, like,
he didn't clear his cookies.
Yeah, you got to clear your
Ooh.
cookies.
That's
Or just put it to sleep.
When mom comes in and says, "What have you been searching, Jack?"
Here we go. Oh, red web. Huh?
Oh, nice. 10 years too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because there's a lot of like reasonable explanations you could have for this thus far. I think what really stands out to me is that there's a consistency here between Jack and close friends and close family members. And within these emails, there tend to be inside jokes. There tend to be information that only the two would know.
That's true. I kind of like
the friends that receive these emails. They didn't say much about what was in them, but they did clarify that there's personal information in these emails that only themselves personally and Jack Froese would know. This is conversations that they had, jokes that they had, or whatever. So either on one hand, we have somebody who is hacked in and knows a lot of Jack Froese's personal relationships and information. Maybe someone's got his diary, which could be true. Like he could have a diary.
That's true.
Right next to his computer. And as you were saying, if all the passwords are just sat unlocked because he passed away, unfortunately, just suddenly.
Just trying to make sense of it all.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does make it, I mean, I keep saying weird, but it's very strange that like it's all stuff that like that's like personal things that no one else would really know. Because then from there, I'm trying to think of other things like a journal that'd be left around,
right?
That they would know about. But
yeah, those are like the pieces of detail that, I mean, maybe Christian, while we're recording, see if you can't maybe try to scrounge up some more information on things like a journal or anything. Because like, this is like
calendar, maybe.
This is slightly deeper than the story that I've always been familiar with. There's a little bit more detail, but it's like I feel like there's something else that's not being known about that would help provide clarity to maybe what's going on. If you're going with like the skeptical lens, right?
Right. This person kept a really tidy Google Calendar or something like that.
I mean, we're about to dive into the theories, but before we do, one of the weirder pieces of information with regards to Jack's cousin and his email about the broken ankle and saying that, hey, I was trying to warn you. I don't know if it was like something in the real world that he was trying to give him a sign or if it was he was trying to send him emails prior, but Jimmy had broken his ankle way after Jack had passed away and only a week prior to this email coming in. And so if you're the skeptic, you're saying, okay, then there's someone who's really monitoring these close relationships and following up on them as if to be this Jack. Or it is going to say that Jack is presently around, watching over his friends, communicating with them through his email or what have you.
Right.
And then that's how he knows about this broken ankle. I think that's what makes this one in particular strange. And like,
man, if he sent that email and then the ankle broke, that would have been a trip.
That would have been really weird, yeah. But I think, just trying to put myself in their shoes, I don't think the skeptic comes to the forefront first. I think the fact that you have this intimate relationship with somebody and you have their name freshly in your inbox, knowing that they had passed away, and you have just a couple blurbs of inside information into your relationship.
Yeah.
That alone, ghost or otherwise, is already very unnerving. I mean, if you know it was meant to be, like if it was something between you and I read it, but you had been gone or it came from another source, I would have been like, one, this is weird on a supernatural level, or two, this is even weirder on there's like
someone watching
a voyeur somewhere out there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, either way, deeply unsettling. On the supernatural angle, though, like, I find this so fascinating because you're right. Why, if ghosts are real and they're kicking around and they're possessing things, talking through Ouija boards, showing up on like the gray lady on the stairs or whatever, then why why wouldn't they enter the digital
Exactly.
realm? Why wouldn't they interfere with that sort of stuff?
They're turned on radios and TVs.
Right.
It's like, ooh, all right. So they're evolving. They're learning.
What's that movie like Frequency or whatever? Or like there's White Noise, which is a game. Hold on. Is it The Signal? No. There's two movies that I'm thinking of. One has
I
like
think one was Frequency.
is like there's static on the TVs, and that's like they commune through that and enter our dimension through the static. And then there's another one where if you
I mean, I think a ton of movies do that.
hear the signal, I just remember a guy melting into a wall
Huh.
because he had heard the signal, and then like someone's
sounds
racing out of
creepy.
town and they have their cell phone and they're like, oh my god, it's on, it's pulling a signal, they can get to us, because the way they haunt is by staying in the airwaves, so they chuck the phone out the window
By
to prevent.
staying in the airwaves.
Yeah.
It's such a interesting.
I'm gonna find that movie.
The only frequency I can find is from 2000 with Dennis Quaid, but it was more of a drama than a horror. Yeah,
Yeah, because it was like talking to his like dead spouse, I think.
his father and son.
Oh,
Yeah.
father and son. Never mind. I was off. But yeah, he was like talking to like dead loved ones.
White Noise. Yeah, it was White Noise. Yeah. Okay.
White noise.
With 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got Michael Keaton. It's from 2005. Man, that's why my memory's so foggy on it. It's half my life ago. But in closing, I mean, like I said, this is a very brief story, but very interesting. This is something I've wanted to cover for a while. You know, in closing on this, though, it's very apparent that it's either Jack, if you want to believe that, or it's someone who wants to pass on some kind of information. So if you believe in the supernatural, it seems like Jack is trying to pass some sort of note along to their friends or forewarning when it comes to, like, you know, the broken ankle sort of situation. But either way, however you want to slice it, it seems that someone's trying to send a message, whether from the great beyond, protecting friends, complimenting friends, or just looking after them, or on the other hand, someone who's very eerily just kind of checking in on friends and just trying to unsettle somebody. But there's a lot of theories that potentially answer what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the theories are all about on this one,
Mhm.
because like I think the main wall that these theories are going to have to break through is the fact that there's a lot of personal information.
It seems like a lot. I mean, on one hand, we have an email with 3 simple sentences, right? And mostly just referencing the attic. I mean, it could be one of those situations where the emails are just landing on a topic and whoever's receiving them is just extrapolating, right? When you hear from psychics who claim to talk to the dead, they usually put the feelers out and let the
Yeah.
audience receive it and move
Yep.
from there. So they're like, I'm picking up an M, an MM, like
Yeah.
someone's mom
It's
or a name with an M.
It's never direct.
Exactly. And
It's-
so someone's
yeah.
like, oh, my mom passed away, or oh, my friend Martha, or
Yeah.
a friend Michael, right? And so then from there, it's kind of leading the conversation. So that could be happening here. These are my own personal kind of like thoughts on the matter before we dive into the theories.
My thing about that though is just like that's such a shot in the dark to send one email to do that.
True. But it sounds like they hit a bunch of friends up, you know? And maybe we're only hearing about the ones that landed, because we're not hearing all of them.
That's, I mean, even then, that's a lot. That, I mean, if you're just someone shooting
true.
through the dark, even if you land a couple of those, I'd be like, damn.
An
like,
attic, a broken ankle. Well, that's kind of more retrospective, but the attic and the music piece are kind of like
yeah,
they're a little specific, you know?
yeah,
I don't talk about attics very often. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. But also, like the people who, like, if it did land right, then I'd go, because you have to think at this point. I mean, if they don't know each other well, they know each other a little bit better because they have this whole email situation connecting them all.
mhm.
So at that point, I would assume there was a meeting, a gathering of them all, or they all talked about this at some point in time and reconnect to one another. And if it was someone that was just like, oh, hey, Fredo, like, you know, let's go to the Ren Fair like we talked about one day.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I didn't talk about going to the Ren Fair with you. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I'd be like, guys, like, they
Also,
hit.
you're dead. What the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah,
What the
but
hell, Mom?
But I'd be like, yeah, but I'd be like,
Right.
Trevor, like, you
Yeah.
got something that was like nail on the head, but I got something that was just completely off.
Yeah,
Like,
there's-
I would bring that up. That's something I'd want to point out.
Right. So a lot of this then leads me to believe that there's some sort of like, I don't know. On one hand, I find it so eerie, so unsettling, and I want to, I always want to believe. I want to lean into the truth that is being told or the supposed truth. But on the other hand, I can't help but feel like there's something within this that doesn't feel super right? Like even if Jack goes home and has a little brother or whatever, and he mentions, oh yeah, I was just helping so and so, I helping Tim, with his attic or whatever. Filthy place. I mean, I'm sure something like that got out just enough that if a brother then sent an email, he goes, oh, I'll pick up on something that Jack had mentioned and then send this to Tim because that'll be eerie. And then at some point, when it gets reported on as being a ghost from a dead friend's email, then whoever it was goes, all right, I'm out, cut the chase or whatever. Like I don't want to get in trouble,
Yeah. At that point though, I don't think they would necessarily come forward.
Exactly.
Because they'd be like, oh, this is a prank that went too far. If I just stop, then it stops.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, before you get into the theories, I'll jump in. I don't have much info to give, but I have a little bit. You were asking about a calendar or journal or anything like that. Couldn't find anything on that. The only thing I could see is that all the friends that received the emails said that they didn't believe that Jack had been hacked and that he had never shared his passwords with anyone. I did find info on who Rock supposedly was.
Okay.
After the BBC video started running, somebody by the name of Frank Froese began leaving YouTube comments. They said that they were Jack's cousin Frank and that their family calls them Rock. The song in the message that Jimmy had received, he says, that's in reference to a song I wrote for him months after he died. I was having trouble finishing the song and Jack came to me in a dream. We sat down with guitars and a bottle of whiskey and finished the song. The next day I woke up and played what we were playing in my dream.
That's really interesting. Even at least from a story perspective.
Yeah,
that's really
just from
cool.
a story perspective of like.
But like, he says you're welcome. Basically, like if he came to him in his dream, there's the you're welcome, like for helping you finish it. But great song being as in thanks, like you made me this song posthumous. What is it?
Posthumously?
Posthumously.
Yeah, I think that's the right pronunciation.
But yeah, that's really interesting. But diving into the theories, there's a couple that make sense, and I'm sure a lot of you in the task force kind of like thought of as we were going through. But what's interesting is that it's possible to send pre-sent emails. There are many services that do this. There are email services that can email future you, where you type out a message, you put in your email, and it will send it to you at a designated time sometime in the future. So that is a possibility here that Jack Froese may have prepared these emails before his death.
But the thing is,
scheduled these or whatever.
Sudden though.
But if he had a sudden death, that is a problem.
That is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you mentioned that, there was just a whole list of theories, right? Or just like pre-done, pre-recorded, etc. that just went out the window for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, look, if I knew exactly when my life was going to end because, a terminal illness or something like that, boy, would I prep a ton of stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'd have stuff prepped. Emotional things, endearing things, pranks, all that kind of stuff. Like I'd set it the whole 9 yards. But like if it was sudden, that's a big like, I don't know, man. That's a big jump to think that like he just prepped these and then just suddenly passed away. It just lined up. Like it's so weird because even then, it's not even a prank to prep an email to send to someone.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like where's the joke there?
If for some reason, he had insight into his health situation, maybe, he knew that something was up and so he planned a couple emails or whatever. I could see that with his good friend Tim, because that email is like, I'm going to poke fun at the fact that you're not going to clean your attic. And it's going to be 5 months on. But what about the music? What about that song and the ankle and then these other emails?
How do you prep that?
Right. Because those have subject matter that weren't relevant at the time of his passing.
Unless you prep that as well.
Oh,
you hired someone to Tanya Harding that shit.
Tanya Harding him right in the ankle.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
dang.
I'm just.
Oh, man. Yeah, the only other thing I had here on this particular theory is an example of somebody on the internet who did, in fact, receive a pretty emotional email from a loved one who had passed on. This was Reddit user Birdie_McSlurp, who I'm just like, pause.
What?
I got a really emotional email from my father, Mr. McSlurp. I am Birdie McSlurp. Okay. I just had to pause for a second. Okay, everybody, please. No, but Birdie McSlurp was shocked to receive an emotional email from his father who had passed away 2 years prior. And they discovered that their father had known of the services from Future Me, which is just one of those services that will send an email to the future you. And instead they put their son's email in. And I'm not going to dive too much into that, but it just goes to show, if you want, you can search up Mr. McSlurp and find yourself their story. But it just goes to show that you can receive unexpected emails from beyond, especially if the person knows that their end is soon and they want to send a little thoughtful message, as in best of luck, or I'm proud of you, that sort of stuff. Now, another thing is there are services that, instead of having a designated date, have, for lack of a better word, essentially a kill switch that sends you periodic emails to check on you so that way when you don't respond or you don't
hit the
engage,
snooze button.
Yeah, you snooze button on it, and so when you don't snooze, it then goes, okay, this person must have unfortunately passed away. We will now send out the emails that they had planned. But again, coming back to what you were saying, how does that address the ankle situation? How does that address things that didn't come to pass until many months after?
Yeah. Also, not that this is a simple case by any means, but boy, would it have been very confusing if there were other forms of communication that weren't emails.
What do you mean, like a hologram?
Like a
Like R2-D2 rolls up in there and is like, help us, Fredo Juan Kenobi.
Then I'd be like, we're going on an adventure.
Clean your attic, Fredo Juan. And they'd be like, how the hell are you doing this?
I don't know, like the TV or the phone rings.
Like
and
a
stuff.
text message?
Like
man.
a text,
The phone rings and the TV
this
comes
man
on.
went hologram, bro. Start auto-driving my Tesla. Like, what?
Oh, your past friend could drive your car for you.
Dude, if they mess with if they're messing with radios, TVs, emails, who's to say they don't essentially hack your electric vehicle like a Tesla and then drive you to a destination? Like, imagine if you got into your Tesla and then
that's wild.
it drove you automatically to somewhere and it was like a grave or something.
Yeah. Oh
That'd
my
be
God. Could you imagine wait, I'm trying to go to work.
crazy.
Why are you taking me into the cemetery?
Exactly.
Wait, my friend was here. Wait a minute. That's my friend's grave. How'd you know?
How do you do that?
Yeah. Or it takes you to an old home, like your old place of residence or a friend's old place of residence. You're like, back to the scene, back to Bly Manor.
Yep.
You're like, no.
Yeah.
That's
gonna
happen. That's gonna happen. You think that's autopilot you're using now? Mm-mm. It's me.
Even then, like you could.
That's how I would. But here's the thing.
See on the screen, it's me.
It's Brittany. It's Brittany. Now here's the thing. If my phone rang and my TV came on, I'm bolting. I've seen the ring. Okay. I've witnessed
Michael Bolton.
I've Michael Bolton right out the door.
Yep.
And listen, I've seen the documentary series with Sarah Michelle
Gellar.
Gellar, and in the ring. Wait, that's Grudge.
Get lost in the movies.
I can't keep up to your speed, man.
The ring is Naomi Watts.
Right.
Yeah.
And also a lot of other people, because man, people can't stop watching VHS tapes from a weird cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
You gotta stop. But yeah, I mean, like that would freak me out. I think an email, there's something peaceful and silent about it that I can just be like, nah, close my laptop and everything's fine. A phone ringing or my phone buzzing constantly or a TV coming on or a screen changing wherever I am, nah, I can't handle that. That's deeply unsettling.
Yeah. I mean, I could take my laptop and just throw that thing outside.
Right.
Like when your phone starts ringing, that's an important piece to have on you, right? Just for security purposes too, safety purposes. But then also things like your TV.
Also, Pokemon Go. You got to be catching your
go out there.
Pikachus with the hats on.
You got to be the very best.
Right. No one
best ever was,
yeah,
and just let it rip.
Crossing streets, not looking, driving while you're playing.
Yeah, you got
cut all that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Okay, fine. Legal disclaimer: don't do that. There you go. Now you can leave it.
But yeah, once you get to the point where you're leaving your house, it's just like, oh, damn it. That's a major inconvenience.
What do you think is a haunting outside of maybe your phone, because that's sticking with you, or your car? What do you think is a haunting that can pursue you? Like, so when you step outside the house, like you feel like you can't escape it. You feel like you're doomed. Because like you're in the house, your TV's all flickering, turning on, even though they're unplugged and that stuff.
Like an It Follows situation?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
That sucked, dude.
But the next theory, jumping back to Jack Froese. Oh, please, yeah.
You guys were kind of discounting the idea that he could have pre-sent these because the death was sudden.
Yeah.
True. It is possible in his case, he did die suddenly.
Yeah.
But heart arrhythmia is a condition that you can have and be aware of.
Gotcha. See, that's what I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, it's essentially just an irregular heartbeat.
Exactly.
And so it's possible to live with it and treat it. Like I've had an irregular heartbeat before.
Oh my God.
And so
don't send me emails.
You got it. Slack's on the way.
And that's more of just a business thing. I just don't like emails.
You got it. So it's possible that he knew he had an arrhythmia.
Gotcha.
The deaths can be sudden, or if they go untreated, things like that. So it still was sudden, but he could have known about his condition.
Gotcha. He could have maybe felt at some point that maybe his condition was getting worse.
Possibly.
But the timing on that.
True.
Like, how do you time that out?
I think the biggest wrinkle still to me is the fact, and again, you have to rely on the sources at play here, and for the sake of talking about this subject, you have to at least take a stance for the time being of they're telling the truth, right? And so if you take that stance that they're telling the truth, that they are talking about this song, they are talking about a broken ankle, then, I mean, regardless of maybe him seeing this end coming and then planning these emails, it doesn't really, for me, address how he's specifically talking about events that hadn't passed for many months yet to come. So that's the oddest part to me, and that's what maybe grounds it more in reality. So there's either the fact that they're not telling the truth, that they're exaggerating, or that they are, maybe it said something more like an accident is going to happen and they attributed it to their ankle. You know, it's hard to know.
And it's like, oh my God, how'd you know I had Taco Bell yesterday?
Right. Something with an A is going to happen. You're like, ankle.
Oh my God, my ankle. Yeah, right. You're like looking for it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. You know, it's totally possible. You know, that maybe it was a pre-sent email in conjunction with some falsehoods being spread. I think maybe it could have been his last hurrah, the last prank, you know. What's up, Task Force? This is Trevor, as always, talking to you about a couple of housekeeping notes just about Red Web and everything. I hope you all enjoyed the Halloween special from last week. It is doing very well on our app, if I'm honest. And I'm just chuffed. I'm really happy that you guys are resonating with it, because every new step we take, whether it be a new genre, a new realm, a new format, you guys always eat it up. So thank you so much. For those of you who missed it or didn't have the opportunity to see it, you can check it out on the Rooster Teeth app and website at roosterteeth.com. Also on our relatively new YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you want to listen to us there, youtube.com/redwebpod. And while I'm talking about these self-promotional things, we also have merch if you want to go as far as to give your friends or yourself some holiday gifts. I know the holiday season's coming up. We have store.roosterteeth.com. Lots of stuff coming on the Black Friday weekend. So keep your eye out for those things and those deals. But with that said, I want to talk about some of our fantastic sponsors. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by The Jordan Harbinger Show, a podcast you should definitely check out since you are clearly a fan of high-quality, fascinating podcasts with interesting hosts, huh? Right? They definitely put that in the ad read, not just me. The show covers a wide range of fascinating topics through weekly interviews with heavy-hitting guests. I recommend our listeners, that's you, Task Force, check out Jordan's Conversations with CoffeeZilla, a YouTuber who likes to expose guru scammers and everything like that. There's also an episode with Renee DiResta, who studies what turns ordinary people like you and I into conspiracy theorists. A very fascinating topic, to say the least, and if you like this show, I think you're going to like those ones as well. But those episodes aside, there's an episode for everybody, no matter what you are into. So we really think you're going to love this show and you should check it out. There's just so much to talk about and so much to share in the Jordan Harbinger Show. So go to jordanharbinger.com/start for some episode recommendations, or search The Jordan Harbinger Show. That's HARB as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by HelloFresh. The holidays will soon be here, and that means excellent food will be too. But you don't want to spend your time hunting down ingredients in the store or buying whole bottles of this, that, and the other. Something that you're only going to use once, right? Especially during the holiday seasons when it gets very busy. Well, that's what HelloFresh is for. They're going to send you fresh, pre-measured ingredients with delicious recipes to cook with the family, make yourself look like a chef, and have no waste while you do it. And as the fall transitions to winter, there's nothing better than cozying up with some comforting home-cooked meals. Again, trying to show off to your parents that you can cook. I'm looking at you, Mom and Dad. That said, HelloFresh isn't just for meals. Their marketplace features a variety of add-ons for breakfast, desserts, seasonal snacks like Pillsbury pumpkin cookie dough, and everything like that. And thanks to HelloFresh, I've been able to use their product for the last couple of weeks, and it is fantastic. It definitely makes me feel more comfortable in the kitchen. I can cook meals as an experience with my significant other, and they're always tasty every single time. Even if I'm a picky eater, I know I'm going to enjoy what I'm making. And so it makes it easy that it shows up, and they give me all the instructions with pictures. So you can just look. You don't even have to read if you're so inclined. But if you want to get some HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com/RedWeb14 and use code RedWeb14 for up to 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that's 14 free meals and 3 free gifts at HelloFresh.com/RedWeb14 with code RedWeb14. With all that said, let's dive right back into the inbox and explore this mystery. But with that said, why don't we segue nicely into the case that this could have been a cruel prank in order to scare Jack's friends, whether it was Jack themselves or someone that knew Jack or someone that just happened to know about these folks and happened to come across Jack's email.
That's true. Like, Jack could have been like, I have this condition. If things were ever to go sideways, right? Like, for example, if I was like, oh man, I have this, this heart condition, and things were and I just like went over to Michael, and I'm just like, yo, Michael, like a coworker of ours, like, if anything happens, like, send these to like Trevor and Christian, like mess with them,
Yeah, like, is there some sort of weird clause in his will that's like, I update this annually with the most recent details that I know.
Yeah.
But also throw in some like current information so that way they know I'm still there and they're like freaking out.
I would have it send you guys a VHS tape, and then it would just be like, hello, Red Web.
Very spiral.
Spiral. That's what the new by the way, Red Web. Spiral, this the spinoff for Saw. That's what the new Jigsaw sounds like.
Yeah.
Hello, detective. I was like, dude, when we watched that movie, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way.
Weird because like I was so hoping. Okay, that movie was way more gruesome than all the other Saw movies, and let me down way more too. It just like it. I don't know. Maybe I look back with rose-colored lenses or whatever, but or maybe it was just that voice. But like not to have the I want to play a game like that, like deep.
Yeah, it didn't have to be
Billy the Clown or whatever he's called. That puppet voice, but instead of
dude, it didn't have to be menacing. It didn't have to be.
Are you scared? You're a detective. For years you have told lies.
I was like, what the hell, dude? I couldn't, bro. I could not.
For years you have told lies.
Mom? Like, what is that?
Hello?
You have the wrong number. Click.
Goodbye.
Wow. Yeah, no, it was weird. But coming back to the idea that this is a prank, like, hello, detective. I don't know. Like, it definitely is possible. It definitely seems so far like the most plausible because there's this conflation between like inside knowledge and inside jokes and current events happening. And it's worth saying here, Tim and Jimmy claimed that they had asked many of their friends if they had known Jack's password in order to do this, or who might have the knowledge to do this. And they're like, no one, like, Jack wasn't giving out his password. But here's the thing. I don't know, Christian or Alfredo, if you guys have lost your passwords. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would trust that neither of you would be flippant with your privacy. But also, who am I to know that? I mean, so it's hard to know. It really is. It's just, I think, there's not a whole lot of information around it, but it does try to address all the kind of plot holes, as it were, on this particular one.
I mean, you need a theory that really connects, right, the emails with all the personal stuff, and this theory does that.
Yeah.
And you'd like to think it's not that simple, but like as a skeptic, this makes sense to me.
It makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like just a family member or another close friend or just someone. Because clearly this person had a lot of close relationships with their cousins, but also, some friends. And I'm sure whether you had inside jokes or not, I'm sure there's enough within there, enough through the conversation and the grapevine to pick up on some buzzwords that would trigger stories. So like if I say, how's the attic? Because all I know is that you guys were talking about the attic or looking at the attic or whatever. I'm ignoring all detail. I'm hitting you with the buzzword attic, and that's kind of relying on you, Tim, the receiver of this email from a dead friend. You are now spackling in all the detail. Oh, we talked about cleaning. He went up there. We talked about it. He looked at it, whatever.
Yeah, but you need to know that.
But that's the thing.
Then,
I feel like, we pick up on buzzwords. Like I'm trying to think of an example, but like, I guess I know a lot about like how you're looking into Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
And so like I could plan an email or probably someone that doesn't even know us at all, but knows that you are kind of in that circle could plan an email. And if they just kind of scratch the surface of Pokemon cards, you might fill in the gap with like, did you find your favorite Pokemon? You might fill in the gap. Oh my God, the Alt-Art Umbreon reaching for the moon. Like I've been looking for that.
Great card.
But the email doesn't say that. You know what I'm saying?
But
That's the kind of...
Wouldn't that be them talking about cleaning their living space as opposed to the attic? I feel like the attic is the very specific thing.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I'm
can
saying?
see that.
It's just like, because if it was that, to me it'd be like, oh, clean your house. And you'd be like, oh my God, we talked about my attic, right?
Right.
But like, I mean, maybe there's a ton of attics in, was it Pennsylvania? Maybe there's a ton of attics there, right? But like, and that was the shot. Like I'm kind of
it's totally possible
shooting back and forth with this,
Right.
but like the whole cleaning aspect would be the broad stroke, and then the attic would be like the you reaching for it, the connection.
That makes sense. I can see that.
For me,
I guess in my head I've built up this scenario where Jack Froese this is 5 months prior, obviously, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go over to Tim's place, we're gonna check out his attic and see if we can find whatever. And so like boom, all you have is that core word.
Yeah.
So you can like, oh, what was the last kind of thing they did? I can reflect back on that. I don't remember what they did or why they did it. I just know attic was in play. Like that's, again, I'm just conjuring up this imagination.
Cleaning attic, like,
yeah.
Granted, like that would be.
It does say clean your fucking attic. That's to quote the email.
Which to me, like if you're like attic 3 things, I'd be like, okay, storage, cleaning, scary, or something like that, right? Like it'd be one of the things that would be on the top of my list. But so again, you're nailing specifically the attic, and then you're nailing specifically cleaning.
Right. Well, I guess this all comes back to the idea of trust and believing in the witnesses here, because coming back to Tim, that could be what the email says, but coming back to Tim, he's now regaling a tale of the penultimate time that Jack was at the house, the second to last time. And he is quoted as saying, better clean this attic before I get up there and do it myself, right? So, do you trust Tim and that's what actually happened? I can imagine another scenario where Tim is sitting there going like, okay, no, it wasn't the last time that he came over. It was like maybe the time before that. So so then the BBC is like, okay, so the second to last time he was over there, and Tim's just like, yeah. And then it just kind of materialized. Like, I don't know, because then you got to start asking questions on motive,
That's true.
Attention, goofs, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, no, you could paint this on a lot of these different like episodes, which is why I don't say it often. But like, is it real?
Right?
Was it just like, hey, this would be an entertaining story,
right?
And then it got picked up, and that's kind of where it was. Because it seems like after that, it just really fizzled out. Like, not fizzled. I mean, it just stopped completely.
Right. I mean,
it wasn't even like a slow burn. It was like these emails were sent, and that was it. That was done.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of does remind me of the restricted caller, right? We did an episode on the restricted stalker, which was kind of like this, but like through the phone, as you were kind of talking about.
They thought it was the daughter, right? The authorities.
Yeah. Or at least someone else in the family, but the authorities were stuck on the daughter, and that had more information to go off of, some more concrete details to go off of. and it wasn't about someone who had passed away. It was just an unknown.
Yep.
And then that one also ended suddenly. So, if it was a prank, it does stand to reason, and we talked about it in that episode, that whoever's doing the pranking, it might have gotten so deep or gotten so broad in the publications that they're like, I got to stop.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble. I'm starting to mess with something I don't fully know where it's going to go.
Yeah. As a ghost, you don't go, oh man, this hit the papers. Like, oh, I got to back off.
Right. Well, that's another point for the pre-sent emails thing too, is that if they were sent out prior and they weren't getting responses back, it could be that they were planned. But if they're pre-sent emails from a service, would it come from their personal email or would it come from the service, right? Would it say Jack Froese at futureme.com?
I mean, I guess
like
it
that?
depends on the service, right?
Yeah.
Like, more than likely, these services would like to have a tag on it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like futureme.com,
Right.
somewhere on there. But who's to say if there's not like, I'm assuming there's a handful of these services, and who's to say there isn't at least one out there that's just like, hey, we don't leave like any advertising on it, or we have a premium charge to not leave our watermark on it or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Pranking definitely stands out to me, but I feel like there's so
Same.
many holes. It's hard. Like the skeptic in me is definitely like, okay, there's someone pranking. That's definitely what's happening. But it's also so eerie that the believer in me is struggling to I'm paddling back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, it's the personal stuff that will, that kind of makes me go, oh man, like what if, and I don't know, like this is definitely like weird, very like it's very just it's an awkward, I would say, kind of like just situation altogether. You get one little email from someone that passed away, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this were something that was real and this happened and it's not like a prank, I'd just be for the rest of my life just like, am I gonna get a text one day? Am I gonna get an email another day?
Like respond, dude.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm here. Like, let's figure this out.
Yeah. And I imagine, again, if you
Like, how do
take
you
the
sit
stance
with
of
that?
yeah, how do you sit with that? But also like if you take the stance of believing in this too, and someone could make that connection to this plane of existence from there, wherever via email, why wouldn't they keep doing it?
That's
why
the
wouldn't
thing.
anybody else do it?
That's the thing for me, or just the skeptic, right? Like, why would it stop? Like,
Yeah.
it very much seemed like
Maybe they were the
They-
anomaly in the Matrix.
it just look. I mean, they could be, but like, I don't know. I just like it just stops right there. It seemed like they had
Yeah.
a good relationship. Like
Mhm.
this is, there wasn't anything bad between anybody, and so why would it stop?
Yeah. I want to segue into the next theory, but my last thought on this before, we get too far off track is like, at the end of the day, it seems like people are willing to get attention until the water gets too hot. I mean,
Yeah.
I think at some point this kind of has the smell of lies or misleadings or falsehoods of some form, not malicious in any way, maybe not. I'm
Yeah.
not saying necessarily malicious, but instead that someone's not telling the full truth, and then it gets so far. I mean, it's on BBC, right?
Mhm.
So it gets far enough that whoever is at the center of this is like, I'm hands off.
Look,
It could be real, it could be prank, could be hack. It's
it's
just
just a lobster in the water, and we all love being in the water. But when the water ends up being a cooking pot and it starts to boil, you want to get out.
I don't think the lobsters know. That's why you bring it up to a boil while they're in there. But
That's
I appreciate the
unfortunate for
long
lobsters.
analogy. It is. Hacked is the kind of next most popular theory. I mean, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this being a prank, but instead of it being a prank from this friend group, it just kind of extrapolates the idea of, well, maybe someone got into Jack Froese's email after the fact, and this person could be a friend. So it could be a hack prank, a prack, but
Don't like that. A prack.
or maybe it's just one of those hanks, you know what I'm saying? But regardless of who, it's totally possible that a friend got in there or someone random or just a family member.
Yep.
Obviously, this would likely have to be someone who was close because of the broken ankle, the music, the kind of the inside knowledge that this person had. But it's strange that they only sent these messages and nothing else ever again. They didn't respond. They didn't continue to build on any narrative or poll on any threads or anything. But again, I have to say, like, they're getting into hot water pretty quick. And so I can totally see them just saying, hey, I had my fun. I'm backing out before this becomes a felony. Jack's friends don't believe that he was hacked because nothing else nefarious ever happened with his emails or his other accounts. But there is an example worth kind of mentioning that does support the idea of a hack posthumously. After journalist David Carr passed away, for example, his account was very quickly hijacked and turned into a spam bot account. So it's not unheard of. I mean, this obviously doesn't read like spam. It doesn't feel like spam. And also this person isn't a journalist or someone who is in the public eye necessarily, but it at least stands to reason that, you know, your account can be hacked very quickly after being hands off. Or even like at the time of recording this, the Twitch thing just recently happened. Yeah. So you never know when there could be a major leak on any email service or any website that suddenly just opens. It just opens your account to being taken, especially if you have the same email for every destination, which is not wise. But this is 2011. Cybersecurity was definitely not super strong.
Right, exactly. I mean, look at now, right? Like Twitch stuff. Like it's a huge company, Amazon, and then like someone got the source code.
Someone somehow got deep enough to get all this information.
Yeah.
So you know, it's totally possible. And I say hack. I think hack could, you know, we always say hack now, but I'm built on the days of hacking being like, I'm in, and you're like coding something really fast or whatever. I'm jacked in. But hack just a frivolous way to say maybe he got phished or maybe he just was careless with his password. Dude, I remember being on forums and like online games, you know, Club Penguin, for example. I don't remember all the names of the ones when I was a kid, but where people's names, like Puzzle Pirates, people's names would literally be like pass is apple pie. And so if you put that in and then you put apple pie as the password, you're in. Like they would put their name and like their password in their name because like no one really cared and no one really thought about it. But now that, you know, flash forward a few years, a few decades, you know, you've got way more things on the electronic realm. You got bank accounts and all your whatever.
I just imagine young Trevor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Club Penguin.
I never played Club Penguin. I'll be real. I don't know much about that.
He's still.
I played the crap out of Puzzle Pirates.
In my mind, he's still there. Wow. Is that really your password?
Wow. Let me try that. I disappear from the dance floor, and then the other penguin goes, "Wait, what? Huh?" They do that thing where they shuffle back and forth. They go, "What?" And they disappear, and then they come back, and they're doing my dance. They're like, it was his password. Could you imagine? Yeah. Now I'm past his apple
I don't
pie.
even know if Club Penguin has a club. I just assume.
I mean, it's in the name.
It's
dude.
in the name. There's got to be at least one club.
Right. Oh, man. Well, the last theory I think is super worth talking about because honestly, when I first heard about this in my college years, I was so fascinated by this. It was pretty fresh on the mind. And you know, I tend to be a skeptic in the daylight and a believer in the dark. So the last theory that we're going to talk about is that this is actually what happened, that this was a paranormal event. And we are witnessing perhaps for one of the first times, or at least one of the first documented times, ghosts crossing over to a different frontier. I mean, it's electronic, but it's still physical. And so it stands to reason, especially for those who believe that ghosts could move into this new realm. Much like humans move into space and the ocean and explore everything they can, why wouldn't ghosts do the same? I mean, you have to ask yourself, what's the intention of a ghost? Why do ghosts exist? What is their purpose, etc.? And does the electronic platform, I guess, does the internet facilitate that?
I feel like if I was a ghost and I was haunting through electronics, I'd be a bougie ghost.
Ooh.
Only haunting
Talk
you
me through it.
Like I'm only gonna hit up my friends with OLEDs. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm gonna make an appearance.
What is this, a CRT?
Yeah. It's like if I'm gonna make an appearance, I want like those nice black levels and good contrast.
Right.
You know what I'm
you don't want to
like,
be like when you show up on the TV screen, you don't want your image to be crushed.
Like if I'm gonna
you don't want to be blown out, you know?
If I'm gonna talk to you through your headphones, it ain't gonna be AirPods, bro.
Right. I want that 7.1 surround.
Like,
I want you
Hello, Papa.
yeah.
Can you tell it's true?
What? What was that? Yeah, some sort of glitch. I don't know. I guess I was in Discord or something.
These AirPods.
This takes so much energy.
Because I mean, yeah, whatever it is, you know, it stands to reason that it would take a lot of energy to communicate, right? Because like when you talk about EMPs and you talk about batteries being drained and you talk about the atmosphere being cold, all of these standard ghost hunting pieces,
Right.
the idea is that they draw on electronics to then, or energy at least, to build it up enough just to have one burst of communication. And so to do that in the electronic realm, I don't know if that takes more or less or however, but you know, yeah, you want it to be, you want it to be efficient. You want it to be like, I'm not going to put all my eggs into this like bad microphone, bad audio.
I mean, like
basket.
it's it's definitely a joke, but like I don't know. Like I feel like if I'm definitely like if I pass away and I'm trying to reach out to Jackie and I really want it to stick, like I don't want people to be like, ah, man, it's just the audio quality for those are a little weird because they're cheap. So then that's why like you might have heard something, you pick up something else, or like it's a CRT, so like those are old and they just get really weird sometimes.
Right. Someone drops a magnet on you and you're just gone.
Yeah.
What if you were a ghost and you were relegated to speak only from drive-through speakers?
That's wild.
Hello, coming from the space. Can you help me out here, please?
Yeah, we're just like,
What? Yeah, I don't know what that was. Like the other person's like, yeah, well, that was strange. Anyway, like, damn it, that was 10 years of energy.
Yeah. It's like, did you want fries? Help me!
Help! The world is gonna end.
That would suck.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great.
But that might be more cost efficient.
It could be. Maybe it takes less energy because, like, now we're thinking like video game
Why are you
logic.
what are you looking at?
It would cost what? What do you mean cost efficient?
Well, like if
He's crossed his arms. He's all
I
judgmental
know,
right
he's
now.
just so judgy.
I'm curious.
Man, it's just so
Curious.
judgy.
I'm
man.
gonna lock you in a closet in a haunted place next week.
That is happening. That is not a joke. It is terrifying.
I'll be like, I told you I made a promise. You mean like your energy expenditure?
Like, yeah.
Someone's car dies right by the speaker.
It probably like look if we're going with Trevor's like cost to energy theory here, then like something like a Tesla would cost a lot of energy. You know, a little drive-through speaker, not much. A security cam, or like an older security cam, probably pretty easy. If you're gonna go to like some high def 4K, or I don't know what the resolution is on a Red camera.
Depends.
IMAX. Oh man, IMAX
Like
gotta be
8K?
expensive. That's why when you see ghosts or like on the movie or in the lens, it's always older stuff, not like 4K. It's expensive.
Right. Oh yeah, it costs decades worth of energy, so they haven't built it up yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
4K is newer technology. They haven't built it up yet. Like,
I mean, you imagine George Washington's been spending this whole time like just waiting.
I'm gonna get in one of those
and then
Nolan
he gets caught in
films.
4K. Like, oh my god, you're just watching Tenet, and then suddenly, like on the screen, you see, I'm George Washington, and then he's gone. Like, what? Does anyone else see that? What was that? Nolan's like, I didn't put that there.
Is it like a director's cut?
He spends 200 years of patient energy on, I'm George Washington.
Actually, while we're talking about this subject, ghosts talking through phones and speakers and whatnot, that actually happened to my sister
At McDonald's?
on her phone, not at a drive-thru, but on her phone. This was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Super recent.
It was super recent. Yeah, she was on the phone with our dad, and they're just having a conversation, shooting the breeze.
Oh, no.
And then in the middle of the conversation, the line started cutting out, and so he was breaking up on her end, and then she lost him entirely, and then she heard a woman's voice say, "Help me," and then the line went dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
then the
man,
line
that gives
died.
me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, that's weird. Because when you started talking about the phone cutting out, I'm like, oh, maybe there was like a cross signal.
That's what I was
you
thinking.
caught like a piece of someone else's conversation. But if it just said "help me,"
Yep.
that's
Right.
too
That's all she heard.
precise.
Oh, that's goofy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, woman's voice said, "Help me," and then the line died.
Yeah, no, like if it was just like, and then pick up the PC, it'd be like, okay, the
Yeah.
airwaves are mixed up.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's strange.
And then she just ignored it. She was like, "Oh, weird," and just went about her day.
Sure.
But then she was talking to.
Oh no, there's more.
The
something
next
come up on the
day,
news?
she was talking to her dad, and she was like, "Hey, the line got all weird. Like I heard a woman's voice. Like what happened?" He was
Mhm.
like, "What? No, I didn't hear any of that. The line just died for me."
Oh,
I
so
would-
he
He
was
heard nothing.
disconnected.
Yeah,
but
he just got
she
disconnected. She
was
heard the
still
voice.
connected to something.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That is crazy.
Dude, that gives me goosebumps.
And you
Yeah.
held that info from us. That's insane.
How dare you?
I brought it up though.
Oh.
I didn't hide anything.
You brought it up after you hit stop on the recording.
Yeah, yeah, that's weird because and I don't want to add another half hour to the episode or whatever, but that reminds me that Neil is an editor here at Rooster Teeth, and we've had a bunch of other people that I've seen, whether on Reddit or just here at the company, but people have had moments where their Alexa is being really weird. And I don't mean weird like it's saying non sequitur things or it's not responding or it's doing like a typical oh, I get it. It's just like a software glitch or it misunderstood me. But saying really sinister stuff just arbitrarily, just out in the open,
What?
not being
What?
talked to, silent room. Suddenly the Alexa comes on and says the plan is underway. I'm just making that one up.
What
but
in the world?
but yeah, I don't remember exactly what was happening with Neil's in particular. But I've seen clips online of that happening. So
Oh,
Fredo, you might be onto
yeah.
something. I mean, ghosts might be stepping their way, stretching their legs
Dude,
into
there you go, man. All
new
these
weird realm.
tech savvy ghosts. Let me tell you.
That's true. Maybe it is that older generations just can't be speaking through the tech because they're just
Yeah,
not familiar with it. I already
exactly.
struggle with swapping to an Android. I go, I can't find anything.
I just don't know.
Meanwhile, my brother's like, I was born by it,
Yeah.
molded by it.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's just what it is. It's a generational thing.
Oh no.
And that's if you want to attribute, the soul essence to the consciousness. And so you retain memories and whatnot. There's plenty of theories around that, but ooh,
So thank you, Christian.
Yeah, thanks
that
for
was
the little-
wild.
story.
It blows my mind that happened to her, and then she just went, "Oh, weird. I'm gonna make a pie now." And she just went about her day, just paying
I'd
no
be looking
mind
to
to
see
it.
if anything comes up on the
Yeah.
news or
Yeah,
Oh my God. I wish that obviously you can't just record that in the moment, but that's so weird. Oh,
blew
man.
my mind. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a horror movie come to life for me.
All right. Well, let's dive back into the idea of this being paranormal because author Dean Koontz had a similar experience. He received a phone call. I don't know if you know Dean Koontz. He's kind of very prominent in the horror genre of authordom. He writes very much like Stephen King, I would say,
Oh.
very much up there like that. He received a phone call one time from an unknown person who was urgently telling him to, quote, please be careful. And when Koontz asked who it was, the person on the other end repeated what they had said, right? They just repeated, please be careful, and then hung up. He said the voice sounded just like his mother, who passed away 20 years prior to that event, which is very strange. Days later, while visiting his father in assisted living, his father tried attacking him with a knife, and the police were called. Koontz was able to take the knife away, but when the police arrived, they believed that Koontz was the one who was doing the attacking because he had the knife in his hand.
Oh my goodness.
Now, that aside, Koontz believed that the phone call was made to him to warn him. It told him to be more careful and that maybe it could have been his mother trying to warn him of that situation to come. This experience that I'm describing inspired a very similar scene in the novel Mr. Murder. Now, it is worth mentioning he is an author and this is his job. And, you think of The Shining and you think of the hotel. You and I
Yeah.
actually went to
The hotel.
We went to what amounted to be the Overlook Hotel.
Right.
Now called, in real life called the Stanley Hotel, named I think after Stanley Kubrick, who directed the movie. But the whole point is we saw the room that Stephen King and his wife stayed in, and where he was basically the last couple to be there before they closed for the winter, and that's where the story was inspired by, et cetera, et cetera. Very awesome location, very spooky hotel.
Yeah, it
But
is.
the whole point I'm getting at is when it is your job and when tourism and money all follow the story that you say, people go to this hotel because this is where the movie was inspired by. You have to look at it and take it with a grain of salt, And so, yes, while this author might have had this experience, I don't want to discount that. It is worth thinking, at least,
Right.
was it for business? Was it exaggerated for the sake of...
Just as you were telling me that story, I was just like, oh my God, this is so interesting. It's engaging. There's an emotional connection. I mean, but it's also an author.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's tough to get over that.
right, for sure.
It's also tough to get over like the vague warning of be careful. And then you're like,
you can,
who is this? Be careful, hang up. Like, I would say, like, he got the message. If you're the mother in this particular instance, spend that last 3-word energy on being like, I'm your mom or I'm your mother, and then hang up or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you got the message across, but now it's just an open-ended warning that could apply to anything that happens in the next couple weeks is going to be attributed back to this warning.
right.
So, I don't know. I find this kind of stuff very
And
fascinating.
it does
but
seem like his father could have pre-existing conditions and stuff
Sure,
like that.
right.
And we don't know.
Mhm.
Like, we don't know if he's tried before or
Right.
if he was in a state that day
Mhm.
and showed signs and symptoms.
Mhm.
There's so many things that could attribute to that.
Right. But it is worth mentioning, though, and we're not going to go into all the different details and stories out there, but there are people, many people across the world who have had similar stories, similar experiences where they feel that some kind of paranormal experience or connection to a lost loved one came to them. It's just interesting to me to see that first step kind of, maybe not first step, but one of the early steps into this digital realm. I think it's so fascinating, and it will be very interesting to see over the course of you and I, like our lives,
Right.
as stories like this to continue to develop. I mean, we joke about it, but I genuinely believe before, I close my eyes for the last time that I will hear a story about how a Tesla took someone somewhere that they didn't intend to be at, or they fell asleep in their autopilot Tesla in the year 2045 or whatever car.
Yeah.
And they showed up at a destination that they were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
Took him to like
how did it know that I used to live here?
graveyard or somewhere they
Right.
lived or a haunted place.
What'll be stranger is if it discovers a missing person, right? Or a missing place. Like, I guarantee this is going to happen in our lives, and we're going to look back on this moment and be like, ghosts are starting to enter a new frontier. That'll be weird.
That would be wild if it had discovered a missing person.
Mhm.
Holy hell.
Because we've already scratched the surface, right? We have this email here.
It's another
We've
level
got
there.
we've got what was that app again that we talked about? Randonautica.
What's
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Which is-
Randonautica.
We got WhatsApp out there. That's just weird in general. No, but like with Randonaut, that was a whole episode that we talked about how this app supposedly dug into like
Right.
random number generators that were based on like atomic structure. So they were purely random, based on a few inputs from the user, would then take them to places where people have found dead bodies. They have found very strange scenes. And, however you want to cut it, if you want to believe, like sometimes I tend to let my mind go to that
Yeah,
place.
let
Like
it wander there.
it could be just like us scratching the surface of exploring a new realm of the paranormal, which is just very fascinating to me. Because as skeptical as I can be most times, I love to let myself go and let
Yeah.
myself believe in these things, especially when it's late and it's dark. I super don't like big open liminal spaces that are
Right.
like dark and you can't see around corners and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, that's the worst.
See, as much as I'm a skeptic when it comes to like these types of mysteries and more like the horror genre or the thriller genre, I tend to like let myself run wild when it comes to like sci-fi stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Aliens, monsters.
Well, in closing on the Jack Froese emails, it's worth mentioning that the friends spoke with Jack's mother, and ultimately they decided that they didn't really care who sent the emails, how or why or whatever was behind it, because nothing continued. It didn't seem anything nefarious or
ended.
whatever. And the mother was quoted as saying, "Think what you want about it or accept it as a gift." And to his friends, it was just nice to still have a connection with Jack somehow, whether it was actually him or friends of his, family members, or a hacker, whatever. It was just nice to have one last breath of their friend before it went on. And the fact that it didn't go anywhere darker or sinister or anything like that, I think is kind of nice to at least leave it there. And but man, this was a very interesting case. Not a whole lot on it, as you know, Task Force. But we would love to hear your theories around this, or if you have heard of this story before or similar stories, or maybe you've experienced something yourself. At some point, I would love to kind of maybe do an episode where we explore maybe hauntings or paranormal or supernatural experiences from you, Task Force. And you can let us know by emailing us, redweb@roosterteeth.com, if you ever want to give us those, if you're comfortable with that and you want to give us permission to talk about them here on an episode. I feel like that would be a really fun kind of
Yeah,
thing
even
to
if like a
explore.
bonus episode or something.
Yeah. Just because, this is just one of the many core pieces of DNA behind the show, which is I just love ghost stories. Believe it or not, kind of thing. Ripley's Believe It or Not was a fun show to watch. And it's like, even if you're a skeptic, or even if you are a super believer, regardless, like I just find that kind of stuff so fascinating, so intriguing, because as much as we believe we know about the universe, there's still so much we definitely don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the paranormal is just part of that.
True. We don't know a lot about the ocean. That deep.
Maybe that's where the ghosts are. Atlantis is just a ghost city.
That sucks.
Oh, is that underwhelming?
No, just
if it was just like a place where all the ghosts went.
I mean, that'd be cool, but like, I mean, a civilization of technology underwater sounds pretty dope. Like a Wakanda, but underwater. But then like Namor rules it.
Namor?
Namor.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know who you're talking about.
You'll know who Namor is in
the
Black
Atlantis
Panther.
episode when we
2023 or
and
whatever
Black
comes out.
Panther.
Oh, okay.
Sequel. You'll
Okay.
know.
Okay.
You'll know.
Yeah.
All right.
The Submariner.
No.
You'll know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that stuff. Yeah.
He's an ass.
Yes.
Oh. Anyway, thank you all for listening. This has been the Jack Froese episode. If you haven't already, again, this is a shout out to our Halloween special. It's just a one-off. This is an audio podcast. We have, photos that we sometimes post, whether you want to watch it on our YouTube channel or the Twitter page at RedWebPod. Regardless, this was a fun one-off that we haven't done it yet as far as the recording of this episode. So I'm really excited about it. But by the time that you're hearing this, it will be out. There's a visual component to it. And we'd love to have your feedback on it. If you want us to do more stuff like this, please let us know, and we will capture all that and put it into an organized pitch so Christian and I can try to go make this happen. Whether it is the same subject matter, right, ghosts in the haunted realm, or maybe just like we extrapolate this kind of in-person stuff and go explore San Francisco to try to find that key.
Cool. I like that.
I mean?
The other part, I think I'll hire like a stunt double or something.
It's just me. I'm the stunt double. But with that said, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next Monday here, Fredo, for another mystery.
Bye, everybody.